Teşekkür ederim. Zorlu, teşekkür ederim, everybody here. I'm Leonardo Letelier. I started and run an NGO called SITAWI'nin Finance for Good in Brazil. I wanted to start by thanking Talia and saying that I have a 4-year-old daughter. I wish that when she grows up, she's like you. Actually, I wish when I grow up, I'll be like you. So I want to do a few show of hands exercise. We'll start practicing. Everybody raise your hand. Okay, it works. Remember that, your hand works, right? Good. All right, so who gives regularly to nonprofits here in the audience? Raise your hands. Okay. Who gives more than, keep your hands raised. Excellent. Who gives more than 2% of your income? Okay, who gives more than 5? Okay, who gives more than 10? Excellent, look me up later. Remember, I run a nonprofit. Who buys organic, recycled, like positive for environment stuff in general? Wow, that's excellent. Now, who has money to invest at the end of the month? So you pay all your expenses, there's some money left, you put it in a bank or in a fund. Okay, less people, that's good. All right, so going back to the hand exercise. People who raised the hand saying, I give to nonprofits, raise your hand again. Now, put your hand in your head, whether you do that in your head, or put your hand in your heart, whether you do that with your heart. I'll go. Excellent. Now, on the investing side, raise your hand again. Who said who invests? Raise your hand higher, because I'm short, I cannot see very well. Okay, excellent. Now, put your hand in your head, whether you do it with your head, or in your heart, whether you do it with your heart. Okay. So you might have known, or your stomach, I don't know, Jeff. You might have noticed that most people, when we're talking about philanthropy, they put your hand in their heart. Most people, when they talk about investing, they put their hand in their head. So social finance, or impact investing, is the idea of trying to invest, mixing those two worlds. So you have two hands, remember? You can do that. That can be done either directly into nonprofits and businesses, or indirectly through your bank or your broker. So currently, we're more in the direct mode, which is less money, and the future is in the indirect mode, more traditional instruments, which is way much more money. Consumption of products and grants also play a role, but when we're talking about social finance or impact investing, what we're really talking about is returnable capital. So they all play together, but we'll focus on the returnable capital. So from a financial instrument perspective, that can be loans, that can be equity, that can be guarantees, but that also can be crowd lending, crowd equity, and maybe why not crowd guarantees. And it's also a mix of all of the above, but it's also a mix of the expected returns on that. There are people who start with, this is the social impact I want, and the financial return is a consequence of that. There are people who start with, this is the financial return I want, and the available social impact is a consequence of that. And that takes us to the heart of one of the tensions in the sector, which is whether there is a trade-off or not between social impact and financial returns. I, for one, believe there is a trade-off, especially if you look at the principles for transformative finance. There are 4 principles. I always remember only 3. One of them is to be non-extractive. So it's all nice and good and saying, well, I generate social impact and I also make money, but at the end of the day, I make a ton of money and the community on the ground makes very little, or even has its value extracted. The other is, it's a participatory process leading to ownership process. So it's not good enough just to say that I make this return with the community, but is the community really involved? Did they have a say on the way things were structured? Do they have an ownership stake? Do they control it? So you can go deeper and deeper on the impact. And the last principle is a fair risk allocation. So as an investor, you usually diversify your portfolio. You have tons of bets. One of them might do well, another might not. But for the entrepreneur, for the community, that one bet is 100% of their portfolio. So if it goes poorly, for you, it's okay. For the community, it's a big problem. So money start to move in this direction. There's about 200 billion in impact investing today. And this concept is getting more and more attention, more and more money, and more press. So impact investing is here to stay, and we must do our best to steer this flow of energy toward good stuff. Thank you.